While many of the resources we've looked at so far include company finances, the resources we're going to look at in this video are finance specific. As usual, I'm starting on the Key Documents tab of the Business 100 Libguide, and I'm just going to scroll down. While many of the resources we've looked at have been in this initial section here, I'm going to go a little bit further down this time. And today we're going to look at SEDAR and EDGAR. Both of these resources essentially do the same thing. However, one is a Canadian base, as you can see, and the other one is American. So we're going to take a look at both because depending on your company, you may need to use one or the other or potentially both. So I'm going to start with the Canadian content. I recognize that this is a bit of a dated looking website, but that's irrelevant in this case. The bottom line is it has good information for you. Once I get into this main page, once I've selected my language, I'm going to go right up to the top search database option. And I'm going to search company. As I noted earlier, SEDAR operates within the Canadian Security Administrators. So this is what you would use if you have a Canadian company. Another thing, though, is that it has to be the parent company, not the subsidiary. So just to show a couple examples, if I try to search Starbucks, I'm not going to get any results. Similarly, if I try the Canadian equivalent, for example, Tim Hortons, I'm still not going to get any results, even though Tim Hortons is a Canadian company. But what I have to do is I need to know what the parent company of Tim Hortons, in this case, is Restaurant Brands International. Once I search that, I finally get some results. So there's a lot of information on this page, and as I mentioned, it's not exactly a user-friendly form, and it's a bit of a dated layout. That being said, there's a few things to note. Of course, we've got company, date, time. Keep an eye on these. Sometimes they're not in order. As you can see, there's some 2019s above some 2020s. So you're going to generally want the most recent information available. And the forms you're going to want to look out for are MD&As, annual reports, and quarterly reports. So keep an eye out for these, and you can peek in this column here. You can see there's some MD&As here. Another thing you can do is if you click on the document type folder, it'll organize them by type. So now it's alphabetically. So now I'm seeing annual information form, financial statements. It's a little bit easier to sift through the information when it's alphabetical. That's pretty much all there is to it. I'll just show you what it looks like when you open a document, for example, an MD&A. You have to prove that you are human. So I'm just going to quickly fill that out. So as you can see, an MD&A is a management discussion and analysis of financial condition. So there's a quick summary here to tell you, and then a whole lot of information for you to sift through. So as I said, keep an eye on the most relevant ones because this is a lot of information to sift through and you wouldn't want to look at the wrong one. Going back, I'm going to show you EDGAR now. Going back to the guide, let's check out EDGAR. So EDGAR, as opposed to the Canadian version, SEDAR, which is only Canadian content, EDGAR has official reports for any companies that are traded on the American Stock Exchange. So if Canadian companies submit to the American Stock Exchange, you'll be able to find resources here. So I'm going to start with my usual example of Starbucks, just to get a view. And you see we've got two different results coming up here. We've got retail eating and drinking places and then food prep and products. I want the main company, which is more so the restaurant than their other subsidiary brands. So I'm going to click here. So this is the main page that you'll be working from once your results load on the EDGAR site. So here you can see, much like SEDAR, we have a list of documents. In this case, the ones you're going to want to look out most for are the 8K, the 10Q, and 10K, which you can find down here. So each of these forms have different purposes for you, but these are the ones that you're going to want to look out for the most. So first of all, the 8K is typically the most current report. It's one that's published throughout the year. As you can see, it's much more often than the other ones. The 10 Q is a quarterly report, so a few times a year, and that one you can see intermittently as well. Finally, we have the 10K report, which is the annual report. So you're going to want to use all three of these reports to come up with the most current picture of your company situation. So the 10K, as you can see, was from November of last year. So what you're going to want to do is use that information because it's the most current annual report, and then combine that with both quarterly and the intermittent 8K reports to come up with the most recent and most relevant information for your financial data. So to access these, as you can see, there is a document and an interactive data tab. You can choose either. So just to take a peek, let's look at the 10Q. And we can skim through. So I want the full 10Q. I'm going to click on the document here. And it takes you to the full report. So much like the other data we've seen, this is a financial report that you can scroll through. It has an interactive table of contents, and you can additionally scroll through and have a look. This process will be exactly the same for the 10K and 8K as well. Just to quickly show you 10K as well. Exact same process. And that's all there is to it in terms of looking for information. From there, you'll have to compile the information according to your report needs and go from there.